Welcome back to some professional StarCraft 2 with the Zerg in the blue. From the UK, it is Iba. Up against the American Terran in the red, we have Dolan. A best-of-3 Terran versus Zerg showdown on the new proposed StarCraft 2 balance patch. You've seen plenty of strategies from the best of the best, but I saw a lot more creativity happening with the best of the rest. So hopefully you'll enjoy something similar, but just a little bit different. And maybe enjoy it enough to smash that like button and subscribe to convince the algorithm that just because Clem isn't in the title doesn't mean you don't want to watch. Either way, Jimmy, what are we? What? 1,459 likes on this video, on this cast. I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways. I don't know what else I'd do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. I can guarantee you some original strategies will be used in these games. And maybe the micro won't be perfect and the macro won't be immaculate. But either way, there will be good games for the fans. As the new balance patch with the changes to the Cyclone, well, the reversion of the Cyclone, the nerfs to the Where am I OV? It's right there. So on this map, the OV has a platform. Is high ground, right? I believe it is high ground, but very intentionally, it's within vision range. Though, it does seem like this might be one of the first games these players, who are high grandmaster, have played on the new patch. Or at least the new map pool. Try on the edge. Very kind of Dolan to help him limit test the vision on the OV. So if he goes to the high ground, it's on the same level. It's not 2 levels up, just 1 level. He can still very technically see it from the edge. Yeah, I think that's very intentional. Can still see. So that way, if you want to put an OV there, it's a risk. Maybe they'll be able to spot it, maybe not. I'm not sure how intentional that is. A little more north. They're right. Okay. Not exactly what I meant by new original strategies. The collaboration between Terran and Zerg may be lore accurate, but not exactly in this sense. Meanwhile, the Reaper comes in because we're still pretending to play the rest of the game. The Queens will politely yet firmly ask it to leave. And another Marine comes out. And the Overlord, well, there's nowhere is safe while there's still vision from this Marine spotting to the high ground, though it's not quite in range. Goes back to the other side. The Overlord drama. I think at this point, it's pretty over it. Either way. The Hellion now providing vision while another Marine comes down. And it looks like the Overlord will eventually be killed by these Marines. I don't know. I don't know. I'll figure it out later. Unfortunately for this Overlord, later did not come soon enough. Well, he's not even trying to. He's just like, just kill it. Just kill it. Just get rid of it. Well, we've done a bit of a geography lesson to kick things off. Always facts of the day. Meanwhile, Dolan has been building up quite an industrial revolution. He's up to 3 factories. Magfield Accelerator, which is about a 50% damage increase on the Cyclone lock-on damage. So it's a lot of damage. It already does a lot. I'm not sure if this is the version that does flat damage or if it's bonus versus armored. I believe it's just flat damage with this version. But either way, the Hell Clone composition, alive and... I'm going to hold off saying strong because I've only seen 1 game of it, and it was Clem bullying Solar after he already held an all-in, so he already had a huge advantage. So this will be probably the first time seeing the Cyclones without the Zerg already being in a terrible economic spot. In fact, Iba is doing just fine right now. He's sitting at 59 drones. Does he have a lair? Indeed he does. Roach speed is not on the way yet, though he's going to want it soon. The Cyclones lock on it. I think he's going to be very aware of the lack of speed on those roaches, as the Queen getting chased down as well. Retreats behind the roaches, but while the lock-on has a short cooldown, it's not nearly short enough to prevent those roaches from being at severe danger. He starts roach speed. Zergling speed's only halfway done. Iba went for a very greedy, mostly gasless early set of expansions. And now the Cyclones are hunting down the Queens. Or really whatever they can get a hold of. They auto-lock on to whatever's in range, unless you're really going to manually target, which occasionally you'll do with, like, hatcheries, but in this case, I'm sure he's just hitting that A move and backing off. All right, Magfield is now done. Infernal Pre-Igniter for the Hellions. The buff to it didn't go through, but it's still a great damage upgrade against specifically light units. So that doesn't include Roaches, Ravagers, or your mother, but Zerglings, and really just Hydras. Banelings aren't light units, unfortunately. The Queen's getting pushed along as well, but the battles continue on the edge of the creep. Once Roach speed is done, maybe Ebo will have enough Roaches to throw this back. But it's a very momentum-based unit composition. If you are able to drive the creep back to start and continue reinforcing, you're very likely going to be able to continue doing so for quite a while. Though Dolan is shifting into siege tank production, so after the skirmishes here... Oh my god, that's a lot of damage. It doesn't seem like it's versus armored. It seems like it's versus, well, everyone. That Magfield Accelerator upgrade. Accelerating the Roaches and Ravagers into the unit's lost tab. 13 Roaches, 4 Ravagers dead, only 3 Cyclones so far. Though he isn't adding any more. 2 armories for Dolan. Eba's still at 73 workers. He hasn't been slowed down economically too much. He's mostly just been a punching bag for the Cyclones and Hellions. And Zerglings, gonna work on the sensor tower, which is now much cheaper, but doesn't cover as much of the radius. Meanwhile, Hellions darting into the, we'll call it, yeah, it's the 4th base in this case. So only 2 drones dead, but the counterattack on the Terran side of the map also didn't find too much either. So, despite the seeming effectiveness of the Cyclone Hellion, the Hellclone composition, Dolan unable to break through and really pressure the economy very much. At least not enough to stop Eba from already heading up towards Hive. Though Dolan has a 4th command center already done, landed, and Planetary Fortress is on the way. The Planetary Fortress got hit with a slight nerf. It now starts at 2 armor. It now has 2 baseline armor, as opposed to 3. So that makes Zerglings ever so slightly better against it. Hydra's a bit. Building armor still gives it 2 more, but we're still a long way off that. Spire's on the way. A Spire is on the way. I'm sorry, I had to retool my brain for a moment. It appears you may be interested in making that Spire great again. As the Spire takes about the same amount of time, if not exactly the same amount of time as a Hive does to complete. He started a little bit later, but against a Mech army composition, the Broodlord, which didn't end up getting any patch changes, including a bug fix. So there's a slight bug with the Broodlord where it doesn't attack as reliably at its max range. So we'll call it a feature. At least the Terrans are. So this is still the same Broodlord that you know, and very dependent on who you are, you love. With no significant or any changes with the new patch, just FYI. There's, you know, I thought building armor would be a little further off, but Dolan is truly embracing the Mech Terran mindset. The regular McDonald's worker. The Banelings getting roasted. Again, the Blue Flame, not a huge bonus, but the Banelings just don't have that much HP. So, without the creep to be able to close in, Hellions, still a very good counter. Still so many Hellions on the field. He's working on +2. We've just sprinted into the late game. Adrenal Gland's already halfway done. Good shit right there. And Burrow, Neural Parasite, as well as +2 ranged attack and +2 melee. So both players will be working up towards 200 supply and pretty much your ultimate late game composition, with the notable lack of any ghosts from Dolan. Hasn't bothered, well, he's maxed out, he just scanned and spotted the Greater Spire. So now, or completely switch your unit composition and maybe never. Those are your choices. Because right now, the anti-air, oh my god, that's 18 siege tanks, unleashing a creeping barrage off of the creep. Building armor and adrenal glands are now done, really defining how this game has gone so far. Well, here come the siege tanks. Fungal catches some of the Hellions, and Banelings easily roast them, but now the leapfrogging will begin. 7 Corruptors are on the way. The Greater Spire is done, but the Broodlords are not yet in production. He's racing against the clock here. Both sides. If the Broodlords are not completed by the time the siege tanks obliterate at least a base, that could spiral out of control quickly. But if the Broodlords hit strong, there's not very much anti-air in this unit composition at all. His anti-air is 4 Cyclones. That is it. So, where are the Broodlords morphing? A couple... They're all over the place, actually. I think he morphed them the second they came out of the eggs, the Corruptors. Immediately became brutes. Burrowed Infestors with Neural Parasite. They have plenty of energy. You know, if you can't beat them, sometimes you just need to hire them. He's actually going forward. The Broodlords are closing in. There just isn't the anti-air. Did you think he was bluffing with the Greater Spire? There are 3 Thors in production, but Neural Parasite is a real danger. He's caught between a rock and a hard place, but the tanks will be able to bash it down. Suffer some more losses. Does he decide to siege up? Some Hellbats to cover the retreat. +2 vehicle, weapons, and armor about to complete as well. The armies are going every which way, trying to avoid the tide of Broodlords, which is heading across the map. And he spots the tanks. Dolan is sacrificing his armies in order to, 1, free up supply to rebuild, and actually free up supply here. He is maxed out. As well as make sure those Broodlords don't do critical damage. But a great surround from Eba. He closes in, and he knocks out a whole bunch of tanks. And the tanks over to the right flank are going to get taken down by the Broodlords as well. So Dolan went from having 18 tanks to having 18 tanks in the unit's lost tab now. Those Infestors are still underneath. Name a more iconic combo than Broodlords and Infestors. The base did get cleared up, some Hellions as well, but Dolan isn't out of it yet, as the Broodlords are not the quickest or most agile creatures. And the rest of the Zerg army composition is, well, it really does need those extra pieces. And the Thor count. There are 5 Thors on the field, and 4 more in production. 3-3 is on the way. What upgrades for the air? So the Broodlords have a split, where their attack where they whip down the Broodlings and slap them into the face of whatever unit, that's affected by flyer attack. But the Broodlings themselves benefit from melee upgrades and carapace. The Thors, and now Eba borrows 2 of them on the front line, make that 3. The Thors are still pounding into the Broodlords. Thors pounding into Thors. It's chaos, carnage, and butchery, but the planetary fortress with that extra building armor holds the line. And the Terran army somehow comes out ahead. I think that's an example of the bug there, is the Broodlings not quite sure what they want to do, so kind of flying out and not actually launching, though looking very antsy about it. The very forward but incredibly effective 41 kills on that planetary. A lot of them Zerglings and Broodlings, but the planetary still lives, and those 41 units do not. So Dolan is still, he's at 200 supply. I'm not sure what he's waiting for. Some SCVs? Billy, we need repairs. Ooh, overtime. Billy, over here. No, overtime. Well, about 3 or 4 of those Thors have 1 Thor of HP between them. A bunch of fresh ones, though. He spots the Infestors. You need the siege tanks to be able to take down the Infestors before the Thors end up doing more damage to themselves than they do the enemy. But that is a hefty mech army there. The tanks will siege. There's still 1 Broodlord. Wait, what? The Broodlord begins its siege. And at this rate, in several hours, Dolan will be eliminated from the game. Just you wait. They all laughed before they cried. There's still plenty of Infestors underneath. But I think there are more Thors than infestors, but the numbers are close enough. He snipes out the siege tanks, which will open up more of an opportunity to use that neural parasite. A lot of the Thors going down to the initial valley and more. Will he kill his own Thors? He does! Oh no! And now 2 of the Thors will take out the rest. I have no idea who that counts for when they're lost, but the Thors will turn on each other as well. Who would have known that Thor Ravager was a strong composition? And more of the army. Vikings hit the deck, and another Thor is taken down. Okay, it doesn't show up. It's still lost from the Terrans originally, so. The Broodlord die? I believe it did. Those Vikings, I think, likely went and took it out. But the infestors are still sharking around underneath. Not even a hint of a ghost academy. This is America, okay? We don't go to school. We build a bunch of factories and we hope it works. With no real further late game plans. But yeah, hell yeah, brother. And the Zerg will pay for it. Somehow. Cash or card? Ultra Speed is on the way. So, this feels like one of those games. As a great American player once said, when I'm really far ahead and I want to lose, I make Ultras. Hydra, well, since his day, the Ultras have been buffed. In fact, they were slightly nerfed. Ultra Speed is not as fast this patch. But this certainly feels like one of those scenarios where if he decides to make Ultralists into siege tanks, cyclones, and Thors, which are like... I forget if the Cyclone Lock-On in this patch counts as a spell or as an attack. I believe it is a spell cast, which means it goes straight through the armor as well. But either way, it's still a very good option. Those Hellbats... Brenda! Is it getting hot in here, Susan? No, the map is Snowpiercer. I mean... Brenda. Sorry. Meanwhile, the siege tanks were a little late on the siege, but the Ravager's still very well within range, and Eva gets pummeled down 40 supply almost instantaneously. There's still 2 infestors underneath. Dolan has managed to recover, but Eva's modding from like half the map. This is absolute 37,000 to 29,000 resources lost. That's nearly 7. That's a lot. That is almost the most I've seen, maybe barring Clem versus Raynor, which is some of the most hectic games. And we still have an opportunity to beat it with how much these players are absolutely throwing everything. The Vikings are on the deck. The Zerglings are trickling in. Neither player is able to max out. There are 4 Ultras in production, which is optimism at its finest. 13 drones dead. Eva's running out of real estate, as Dolan has retaken that kind of 10 o'clock position, and now he's taken out the north side as well. This is kind of important, though, as Eva was mining from both the north and southern. Oh, he's just building 9 Ultras. Oh, God. Oh, my. Well, okay, so there are 16 siege tanks. It's just a bunch of... I don't think we've seen a single Viper this game. The Ultras are popping out. Eva's gonna go for a massive break. He has enough infestors. A few key neural parasites could very much tilt this fight. And he's going to need them as the Ultras... Oh, well, he's got the infestors on the high ground. I don't know if they were spotted there by Dolan. If he could just take 1 or 2 of the tanks, he may be able to borrow them. The Ultras are chewing through, but not for very long. The siege tanks turning against each other, that severely reduces the damage. A Viking hits the deck to fight the Ultras, which is cinematically accurate, but it does appear like building a bunch of Ultras into units which do ridiculous amounts of damage to Ultras was maybe, in hindsight, not a great call. Though every Zerg player's in this scenario like, well, I haven't tried this yet. It felt like the Broodlords were getting good work done. It's just, we didn't continue down that road. What am I watching? There's still some creep out here. Eva is still mining And he's had the income lead for all but whatever the mules dropped 2 minutes ago. The Zerglings are cutting off range. There are 20 mutas! 20 the Lisk! The Lisk into Lisk transition. Dolan, you don't have a base there. He's doing the long distance mining with the gas. Liberators are sieging up. Once again, the anti-air is almost non-existent. There's one missile turret. There's one Cyclone, one Viking, and 2 Liberators. That is the extent. And the Viking is on the ground. So the mutas very well could wipe out this army. And Dolan yet again could be reset. But the Liberators are going to take out a bunch of drones here. Even a little bit late. Doesn't want to reveal the mutas, but I'm pretty sure he saw it fly by. There's Cyclones and a Thor in production. There's already plenty of tanks on the ground. Some burrowed... That's the only turret right there. He's going to go straight for the production, and if he can deny all the production, then, well, you can't build any more anti-air. The Liberators, eventually a Spore Crawler finished to kill this. He's just fighting the factories! But there are 5 Thors in production, but are there any factory... Are we in a base trade? If he kills all the factories, and he's already magic back. So the Thors were kind of buffed against mutas. They now do. They have less range on their splash damage ability, or splash damage weapon, but they have less damage drop off as well. But you have to exist. You know, I don't know if one Thor will be enough, but one pops out, another one as well. Oh my, those mutas. He's magic boxing, but it's working, I think. Well, Whittle Mines will burrow. Meanwhile, the Mech army is trundling across. Eva's running out of money. The mutas are not killing things nearly fast enough. Some more Whittle Mines. He's retaking over some of these add-ons. But he needs to clear... If he lets... if he lets him mine for too long, the factory count is dwindling. There's still one more Whittle Mine. Eba doesn't have any money left, which is problematic because you do need minerals and gas to make units. So I think Dolan may have won, though because he's still mining from the north side. Though wait, well, he has 2,000 minerals, which should be enough in order to build enough turrets to hold. Like, he can build 20 turrets. He has to raise the TPS. Who? What? Okay, the army will die. The mutas are denying... He's building 6 Thors between all of the factories. The muta risk has paid off, but it needed to pay for everything. And now Eba has 35 mutas. And Dolan is building the hardest counter unit pretty much in the game to mutas. I guess maybe besides Phoenixes, but Thors take significantly less micro than Phoenixes. If he had one Infestor, maybe. He needs to go now, or it's gonna be never. 4 Thors! Oh, 4 Thors and way too many years ago! Mew! Oh, it's all over! Oh! He just got discombobulated. Just chunked out of the... Oh, visceral. No. He left the game so quick as it happened. As soon as the Thors popped out, he's just a little late. The dangers of hindsight. That's just... For all you Terrans out here. Zergs, look away. At the demonstration of why we don't make mutas anymore. Oh... I believe that was the better part of the 32 mutas going down there. And then he GG's before the rest. The splash damage just swats those rats out of the sky. And we're going... Well, Dolan takes game 1. Which is a very... It wasn't easy, and it certainly wasn't decisive. But at the end of the day, it's not so much about who wins, but who's left. And Dolan survives as we head into ley lines for game 2. If the mutas maybe had split off to... There's a lot of hindsight here. Remember, these players at top Grandmaster against me, who's Grandmaster on a great day, would win 99 out of 100 games. Sarah would win 99 out of 100 games against these players. The exponential curve is insane. But those kind of situations, especially, are where it's so hard. The fog of war, in a quite literal sense, to be honest. When you think about your options, and then you just pick one. And it's very hard to make the right call reliably. Were the mutas the right call? You know what the thing is? I think yes. Now, could he have set up for it more beforehand? Like, had more upgrades or split the mutas? It felt like a... I don't know, mutas? Which I appreciate, but also... he got really close to making him work, too. The single upgrade with nothing, no other units on the field, mutas, and it was that close. Dolan had almost literally no production left. That was a nostalgic game. That was the old style of mutas where eventually, maybe you can't fight the army, but you can make sure there's no more army anymore. So, pretty evenly matched, it feels, even with a very Zerg-like mass unit style, though really leaning on those infestors to deal with the Thors. And Dolan somehow managing to deal with the infestors without actually needing ghosts. Because, believe it or not, infestors will die to a strong word or a stiff breeze, so it's very difficult to keep them alive reliably. I don't think Cyril and Dark make it look easy, but they make it look a lot more plausible than it usually is. What? The Reaper Queen flirtation will continue. Oh, well, that was a bit forward of you, sir. And, get up, my queen! Brenda. Did you see what happened last game? I know, but... Never mind. Sorry. Roach Warren on the way quite early on. Roach Warren before 4 minutes is usually maybe not so much in this matchup, but again, Iba going for the quick third hatch into roaches. Excuse me. Whereas a Viking first. Very notably, no tech lab on the barracks. Oh, an armory. Is this a Hellbat rush? I mean... yeah, Banshee's on the way. Gonna have that armory remarkably quick. It's an old build, but it checks out. It's almost certainly going to be... it's a fake. Well, I mean, it might not be a fake tech lab, but he slapped it down to look good for the OV. But the real information is at the natural. There's two more. It's Mech. It's so Mech. It's so ridiculously Mech. Dolan again. I mean, if it ain't broke, you don't need to repair it, as the saying goes. Ebo, droning up. Layers at the third. Probably the most convenient place. Why not? Spore crawlers on the way. Queens will make sure the Viking doesn't get any more kills. Picked off one. Was this a Thor hammer build? I haven't seen this one in a while. I believe so. He's gonna flip these over to the tech labs. And then double medevac. You see double medevac Marine drop, but double medevac Thor drop is more like it. Oh, dropping the hammer. Combined with the Hellbats to try to do a decisive... So this just obliterates Queens. There is not much of a harder counter to the sizable Queen count early than Thor's punching their way through. So... A very capable, yet relatively easily countered opener. If Eba knew this was coming, I imagine we'd see just Roaches and Ravagers. If you shut this down, a big Roach counter swing is an easy follow-up that can get a lot of success. But he's clearing out the creep, trying to just soften things up. 2 Thors now done. Goes into high impact mode. Viking hits the deck to fight a Roach, which I think it beats 1v1. And the Roach, I think he's... Well, that's a bit unfortunate. He spots the Thor drop. Takes down the Overseer. So that was about the worst possible timing there. To come out with the Thor drop. He knows it's coming. There's a Spire halfway done, but the Spire's not going to be involved in this. It's all about the Roaches. Hellbats now getting healed up by the medevacs because they can in Hellbat mode. If you cosplay as a real human being, you can get healed. Even if you are made out of I don't know. Well, everything's made out of minerals. There's a better joke here, but Hellbat man. The Thors loaded back up. A bit dangerous, though he doesn't know it to be sticking around, as the Spire is about to complete. It appears Eba really likes those early Spire plays. And you know what? I appreciate that. The Spire is probably my favorite of all the tech paths of the Zerg. Very hard to make work in so many scenarios. And the Queens, you don't want to fall into the lava. Whoa, a dangerous game. The Hellions try to run by, but the Roaches guard the way. And most of them get taken down. But another double-double! The double Thor drops! Dropping the hammers on either side. The Roach Ravager count is so damn high, and the Queens are almost able to knock the Thors into the lava. This hatch should get taken down, but Dolan pretty much just playing this like he has 16 Marines in those medevacs instead of Thors. Clearing the creep, knock it out outlying bases, but so far... Oh my god. That would have felt so good. Those corrosive biles landing. Neural Parasite is on the way. Drops out again. 4 Thors! The full team. And the Queens. Oh, no, 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 no. Actually, somehow almost loses a medevac, but the Queens get pummeled off a creep. But the Roach Ravager, the Queens are out of position. You gotta be real oh, no. Wait, those are not Speedlings. Speed just now finishing. The Thors are saved. So those medevacs are looking a little dicey. Hopefully he actually uses some repair. Wow, maxing out at 9.5 minutes here with late game tech. Both players on incredible economies. Though Dolan about to take a hit as the Zerglings go in. Ravagers and the Hellbats in position. 14 SCVs dead. He ends up roasting them. I'm pretty sure the siege tanks killed most of that. As the siege tanks end up pounding the Zerglings, which were right on top of the SCVs. Greater Spire on the way. Adrenal Glands. Baneling Speed. +2 melee and +2 ranged attack. Hellbat drop is loaded up. So Eba gonna give the Broodlords another shot. Dolan, again, opting for that Hellbat Thor composition. Having 4 Thors and some Liberators already will be very, very helpful against any potential Broodlords. But there is that Neural Parasite out there already again. So, with no ghosts, it becomes a bit dicey to deal with it, as we already saw. I believe more Thors died, either directly or indirectly to Neural Parasite in the previous game, than to actually fighting Zerg units. So, nobody kills Terran units like Terran units. That's actually quite true. A scan spots the Greater Spire, so he knows. Unfortunately for Dolan, he's maxed out, so he can't actually shift his unit composition. What he can do, though, is build a fusion core and 3 more starports. So that is certainly one of the options. As likely for advanced ballistics, but battle cruisers are certainly not off the table. They're also vulnerable. Neural Parasite is a big kicker here. Which way will it end up landing? Well, we will see. Because if these infestors just slither in and die before getting anything meaningful, that's a huge investment that just does not pay off and gives so much potential momentum. There are Hellbats loaded up. I think he's intending on dropping Hellbats on the middle of the army. Which is... it's an old strategy. It's a Gumiho strategy from many, many years ago. And there's nothing about this particular patch that makes it stronger. But... maybe it's just how Dolan likes to play, and the fact that we're on a new patch and new maps is completely irrelevant. In fact, I feel like there's a lot of that going on with these two players right now, but still, it is a lot of fun to watch. Ship weapons, 2 battle cruisers in production, 4 more command centers, as Dolan hardens his shell and begins to turtle. Meanwhile, Iba takes most of the rest of the map. He's sitting on... he has 7 hatcheries right now. And no macro hatcheries, he doesn't need them. He has a 2,000 income lead, of which 700 is Vespene gas. Which is like 3 bases of a Vespene gas lead, which, you know, makes sense. Because it's 7 to 4 bases, so... yeah, the numbers work out. And then we have the semi-blocked gas geyser that you can only take after mining the reduced mineral field, which only has 150. A feature. Okay. It looks like Iba has already done that. Every rich Vespene has that very loosely termed feature on this map. The 2 battle cruisers. He's using the mules to mine it faster, which, you know, makes sense. Should be done with it soon. The battle cruisers are done. Dolan doesn't want to throw away any units. It's been a remarkable amount of time. There are 5 hatcheries. Iba! Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 macro hatches. I love it. Okay, we really need to do more of this. This is one of those things that, for everyone who isn't Dark and Cyril, should be doing more of this. Sure, you might have perfect injects or whatever, but that's reliance on the queens always babysitting the hatcheries, in pretty much every sense of the word. The 5 macro... yes. Yes. That is my statement. And testimony. The Hellbats, Brenda, run! Oh my... the Hellbat drops. And then the Hellions running in. He could just go Hellbat mode. The Corrosive Bile's off the mark. 12 drones dead. Incinerated by the Blue Flame Hellions. So satisfying to watch. Oh my god! Well, that's freeing up supply in dramatic fashion. He drops directly into the Ravagers and Banes. The Ultra Caverns over here, by the way. The drone count plummets to 84. 25 dead. He just starts all the Ultra upgrades. The battle cruisers continuing production. Dolan also has... how many larvas? How much... can you repair your Thors, sir? Can you... no, it's still... it barely has any miles on it. That's because you flew in a medevac the entire time. But the Thors are in half HP. The medevacs are in autumn colors. Repair your Thors. Here come the Ravagers. Oh, knocks out some of his own changelings here. Machine gunning the corrosive bows. Just gonna come up. I think this is Eba mostly trying to free up some supply while maybe taking out a base. The battle cruisers are spotted. There are 5 infestors with full energy underneath. Would you repair your Odin Forsaken Thors? And Yamato Cannon knocks out 2 infestors. Blasts them out of the ground. But Dolan can't expand because the creep is on his doorstep. You know, why is it when Terran does it, it seems like a great strat, but when Zerg does it, it seems crazy? Well, mostly because orbital commands are incredible force multipliers, and planetary fortresses are like units in and of themselves, and hatcheries are just an excuse not to use inject as often. But still. He's got 50 larvae in the bank. He's got over 9,000 minerals and over 9,000 gas. It's not like Dolan is poor, but Eba is certainly in a position to refill this army. Both these armies are incredibly powerful. Maybe if you repaired your Thors. The Thors are melting now. The Broodlords are closing in. The battle cruisers jump to the back. There are he neuroparasites, but the Yamatos will still go off. He has to target down the rest, but the corruptor count. He jumped into the neuroparasite. You asked for this. And it's a bit of a disaster. No, it's a bite of a disaster at this point. Well, wow, armor upgrades are insane. And he's not even maxed on the armor upgrades. And 10 ultras. Oh no. Well, that didn't work. Dolan, it feels like he went about 3 different directions and only got halfway there in any of them with the unit composition. Just now adding in the Liberators, there's no anti-air with this. Well, with it, potentially anti-armor missile. The Liberators, remember, have an anti-air attack. It's just the anti-ground attack is so good, we rarely see it. Very optimistic Yamato Cannon. A parting shot. 3 Broodlords. He doesn't have building... Oh my, he has so few upgrades. He doesn't have building armor. You can really feel it. When just 3 Broodlords doing so much damage. I think the siege... Oh. The siege tank's doing so much damage, really. Yeah, the siege tanks are hitting the broodlings and doing a lot of collateral as the ultras chew their way through, cleaving in. And that's it. It's just ultras, but this time around, there isn't the tank count. The Liberators are not in position. This, well, this is a bit of a finicky situation. The Hellbats will incinerate one. He jumps away. A short jump, but enough. 10,000. Give me 10. Give me 5 more hatcheries. So hatcheries are now 275 minerals. 25 minerals off. Oh my. What are you going to do with an 8% discount, Zergs? Pay for your 25 mineral more queens? Which is just objectively a higher percentage? Yes, is the answer. He's building 2 more queens. Thors and battle cruisers as our Bronze League professional Terran. We'll continue down the most epic yet counterable road. As at the end of the day, infestors, corruptors, and broodlords. He's incinerating drones, but oh my god. We're playing ring around the hatchery here with the ultras. 10 ultras chasing 2 Hellions. Dolan. Do you have a repair? You know what? It's one of my pet peeves. I don't even think it's a pet peeve. It's just downright. Repairing only costs 1/4 as much as building anew. So even if it costs the same, I think it'd be worth it almost all of the time, but there is no reason not to repair unless you're literally dead broke. Which, you know... I think Eba's wondering what to fill in with his last 25 supply. What is it going to be? You already have 8 ultras. Don't do it. You know he wants to build ultras. Both these players have clear interests in very particular strategies. Eba's now expanding to pretty much, well, at this point, the rest of the map. Dolan's on his first 5 bases. This is unsustainable. Eba's mined 12,000 more minerals and 10,000 more gas. It's not gonna get any easier. Yanks. Oh, a Viper! Remember those? Hellions coming in again. But if he's trading minerals for minerals. Oh, the battle cruisers. This is cover for the cruisers. There are 6 orbital commands, which is enough to scan pretty reliably. How many infestors? 5 infestors on the ground, but they're slithering their way through the creep. Yamato cannon volley! Full broadside! Well, front side. You got the idea, though. More of a figure of speech. And the speech I'd be making right now is, I will rule this sector, or see it. I thought they could jump away. I think it latched just as the tactical jump went off. And it's because that was the battle cruiser that was the closest. So wait, did they use their energy and they still got... I don't think so. I think the ones that didn't latch didn't use the energy. Because it's 100 energy. So, kind of unclear. Anti-armor missile could be very helpful here. He slaps it onto the Ultras. I mean, I guess Thors don't benefit too much from it, but the battlecruisers certainly do. And what an army! The Kaiju fighting the mechs! The Corruptors on top of everything! Yamato cannons blasted away! Infestors trying to get involved, but the Terran army obliterates everything. They had the high ground. The Infestors were way too late, and that fight went horribly for Eba. He just lost several thousand gas and easily 5,000 minerals. So, Dolan, he needs trades like that. Like 3 more of them to close the gap economically. And he needs to be able to mine from these new bases. And that's the real struggle right now. Battle cruisers, Thors. Are there any more Ultras? No, the Ultras all died. As was foretold, as the prophecy foretold. Yamato volley. The infestors try to get close. Siege tank grabbed. Thor as well. Battle cruiser. Yes, he's got the scans, but the Terran Zerg army overwhelming the Terrans. He jumps the rest of the cruisers away, and the Banelings roll in. Actually, a bit of an awkward fight there. And wait a second. The Corruptors might be able to snipe off a couple more cruisers, or all of them would also be good. And Dolan, the Bronze League. Oh wait, the Thor. I guess the Corruptors have no way of killing the Thor, so Eba still has plenty of money in the bank. He can keep throwing. He can lose twice as much for the rest of the game and still come out ahead. It's too much. Dolan this time, unable to drag the game. I think there's just... He wasn't able to lock down enough of the map before Eba got the Iron Bank here. His mass hatchery play. He's got 110 Zerglings on the field. I think investing an extra 1,000 minerals in order to have reliably more production that isn't tied to the queens was a great move. Did it win the game single-handedly? No. But it certainly helped. So, big thumbs up there as Eba rolls through and Dolan loses 20 battle cruisers, 17 Thors, and the game. Well, all tied up. I have no idea. Well, I think I have a pretty good idea of what we're going to see in Game 3, actually. I was going to say I have no idea, but it was pretty much the same game twice. Just a little interchangeable on the early pressure, but we end up with the mass mech with no ghosts versus the wave upon wave of late game Zerg, and just seeing which level of tech ends up coming out on top. That time around, as well. I think the Brood Lords putting more of a stopper on the Mech army. Dolan wasn't able to move out and kill like 3 bases while the Brood Lords were trying to get the damage done. As we go into Ultra Love, which I'm sure Iba approves of, based on his strategies so far. But I hope you've enjoyed these matches. Both these players ranked high Grandmaster, just not that top tier professional level, at least not yet. But I think sometimes it's more entertaining to see something just ever so slightly below that top tier, because one, it's unpredictable. Like when you're watching Clem, if he doesn't pick up his Marines in time, it's an outlier. Whereas here, the mistakes kind of balance out a bit. And what does that have to do with the game balance itself? Well, if you don't go Ghosts, you still have to account for Neural Parasite. And so far, Dolan has not really made any efforts to do anything but brute force it, which is unreliable at best. If I build so many strong units, then he can't build enough infestors to counter it. Is certainly one of the strategies. Though Iba seems to have adapted by game 2. And speaking of adapted, he snuck out 6 Zerglings, and the Reaper's on the wrong side of the map. They might even be able to cancel the command center. There's a single Marine. The Reaper's coming back. He's gonna have to pull the SCVs. If he has to cancel the command center, that's really bad. So this is a big investment from Iba early. Oh, I feel like, well, one, maybe not the time, but his actual tag is IBA, Iba, not Iba, which is why I've been saying it like this and not like that the whole time. But we're on the public test realm for the new patch, and a lot of players have just kind of had fun with their names for it, so it is still his name, it's just a bit more phonetical this way. In case you were wondering why I wasn't making a whole bit of it, I debated it, but wanted to make sure we actually had the name there. The Reaper, there and back again, and there again, as it scouts for the 3rd. Was it worth it? He killed 4 SCVs and delayed the command center. I think an unequivocal yes. If Dolan had managed to give by without losing anything but the building SCV, there's a total of 1, then all right, and a fusion core battlecruiser rush it is. Once again, we're skipping the Thors this time, straight to the battlecruisers. Which, will it be spotted? More Hellions on the way out. Iba with a 10 worker. Yeah, it looks like it. Well, trying to cloak the Overlord and whatever that vortex thing is. The Hellions just gonna run by. The Roaches are popping out now, but misses a volley on the drones, but may be able to just get up the ramp. 3 drones, 6. So good at counting. I have the little thing on the side. And it's a lot of damage so far. Probably could have been worse. He's 1 pixel away from the fusion core. And the difference between seeing the fusion core before the battlecruiser is done and dealing with the battlecruiser when it jumps into your base is a massive one. It's so important. So, well, there are roaches coming across the map, though, and right now, there's 11 roaches, and there's 2 Hellions and a Marine. That is the army for Dolan. So the battlecruiser may have to be used on defense, which is subpar. Do the supply drop. There's a new, quote-unquote, ability for supply drop that heals the depot to full after the supply drop animation completes, but his base is also badly bruised. Eba's just going for it here. Will Dolan jump the battlecruiser across and sacrifice his entire base, or is he going to use it to defend? I think you have to defend. And we should see multiple spore crawlers entering production now as well. Eva is going to have to shore things up back at home. He does not have a lair. 14 drones dead. I mean, SCVs. Jumps away. A roach gonna get a couple more. A whole bunch of Zerglings. No Zergling speed yet. Jumps directly in. Gonna start going right at the drones. Oh my. Both players just brawling. But the door! Oh, there is no door. The Zerglings get in. The Hellions are on the wrong side. The battlecruiser gets only 7 kills before being driven out of the base by the Queens and the Spore Crawler. A lot of the SCVs already softened up on the first pass. He's down to 25. A second battlecruiser is on the way. But I think this follow-up damage has just been too much. If he was able to wall off, maybe. Is there still a Zergling? Oh, no. He micros it to kill some more SCVs. 31. It's just too much. The battlecruiser... Hey, the door is still open, but... the damage has been done. A Spire is on the way. A battlecruiser going to be repaired. He's relying entirely on the battlecruisers to make the difference here. I don't think it's going to be enough. He build a deep... build a depot, sir. If he does not build a depot, I'm going to be very upset. I guess there are enough Hellions that it might be bait. That's being very generous. But he finally builds the depot, though the door is open on the other side. Supply is dropped. And, oh, well, that'll give it away. Now, battlecruisers. Eva's at 62 drones, though, and he's got a Spire on the way. The Spore Crawler now does more damage, but has less HP. But the transfuses from the Queens keeping it together. The Queens whipping out their knitting needles. The Spore Crawler is not really something that could be ignored for too long. Especially when you're strafing right over it. There's 7 Corruptors in production. He does still have tactical jump. He just floated his way across here. Dolan's actually starting to catch up a bit in the worker count as the Queens... Oh. He killed some of the drones, and he forces out defenses with the others. The Queen's gathering. The Queen Moot is now pretty much fully together. Every Queen out at the front. The Corruptors are out. He can't afford to lose. Any of these battlecruisers lost could very well be the game. Yeah, I gotta get out of there. Jumps away. Meanwhile, the Zerglings get in again! Oh, no. All these little things are adding up. Dolan unable to really find his footing in this game. Now it looks like they might... whatever's left will get swept out from under him. The Soul Stroll! The Queen's heading across the map! The Corruptors looking to fight the battlecruisers have not been repaired! We've arrived! Corrosive Bile takes out the tanks, and Eba will knock the battlecruisers out of the sky. He adapted and he overcame each game more and more strongly countering Dolan's pretty clear trajectory. Still an entertaining series, I think, and a lot of fun to watch. I think the new patch makes a bit more dynamic strategies. I really want to see more macro hatches, Brood War style. I think that's something that's heavily underutilized right now. Why should the Terrans be the only one who make a bunch more bases? But either way, I hope you enjoyed. And if we got the means of motivation, it'd be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free, at least for now. And if you haven't checked out the second channel, there's more content. Me playing the patch, significantly worse, but you know, I try. On the second channel, Winter Gaming TV. Otherwise, I hope I made your day just a little bit better. I'll see you next time. Good luck, have fun, stay chill.
Hell, it's about time.